In late 2025, Tucker Carlson pulled out this image on his nominal podcast. Many people were confused. What was it? Who made it? And what secrets doth it hold? Conrad Flynn tried to explain, only further confusing Carlson. But this was the work of several members of the Cybernetic Cultural Research Unit, also known as the CCRU, the leaders of which was one such Nick Land. Despite the podcast playing him out to be a leading expert in the occult, AI doomsday enthusiasts might be dismayed to know that Nick Land actually has no background in AI, or technology, or demonology. Born in 1962 in, presumably England, not much is known about Nick Land's childhood. He's left it purposely pretty opaque. The first we see him emerge is at 25 years old through his PhD thesis from the University of Essex, published in 1987 on Heidegger's Thoughts on the Young Poet Jörg Träkel. This got Land his PhD in philosophy, a true man of the liberal arts. Yes, that is completely right. Not a STEM kid cell in his body. After that, Land seems to land a job as a PhD supervisor at the University of Warwick, though sources tend to cite him as high, under the influence of several substances at his job, casually coughing as he'd let students into his smoke-filled office. He began teaching in the philosophy department and started mingling in the ideas of cybernetics and experimental theory, with a huge influence from Immanuel Kant for his grounding in critical philosophy, and Georges Bataille for his economic theory. Land's biggest influence by far seems to be that of Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari for their major work Anti-Oedipus, whose dense, hyperbolic writing style and references to machinistic processes would stay ingrained in his works to this day. Land would often find thinkers like Nietzsche darkly comic. To give you a good understanding of his personality, quotes from him would go, "Think of life as an open wound, which you poke at with a stick to amuse yourself." The Cybernetic Cultural Research Unit would emerge from the University of Warwick in October 1995, co-founded by Dr. Sadie Plant, another Warwick professor. They'd soon be kicked out of campus grounds in 1999, though, due to a multitude of reasons, notably a lack of academic rigor, amphetamine abuse, and crazy raves with jungle music. A philosophy conference Land attended included a session in which he was lying on the ground, croaking into a mic, while jungle records played in the background. The now anti-academia CCRU would then relocate to Leamington Spa, birthplace of Aleister Crowley, mind you, to a space above the body shop. One can only imagine the employees hearing weird EDM bass going on while trying to explain lotions to a customer. Despite this odd location, a wild lineup of names would join the CCRU, including Mark Fisher, who later developed K-Punk blog and wrote the acclaimed book Capitalist Realism, Koji Shun, author of More Brilliant Than the Sun and a key figure in Afrofuturist theory, and Luciana Parisi, professor of literature at Duke University and author of Contagious Architecture, Computations, Aesthetics, and Space. Most of them would find their association had aged like milk. Why, hello there, intrepid viewer. What brings you to this channel? Anyway, time for today's ad sponsor, yeah? Have you ever wanted to learn about the Gnostic, the occult, the esoteric? Have you ever wanted to learn about Cthulhu and the old ones? Well, that's where this video's sponsor comes in, yay! This video's sponsor is MVU, also known as Miskatonic Virtual University. Be it Abrahamic, Hermetic, or Memetic, MVU teaches courses for all levels of study. You want to learn about the AI singularity? You want to learn about Axis from the CCCRU from the CCRU writings? You want to learn about Yagzagov's lineage? You want to learn about the Axis from the CCRU writings? It's all in MVU's courses online for you! For you! Isn't that great? But wait, I hear you say, isn't this sacrilegious? Isn't this occult? And to that I say, yes, but also, there are other courses too! Learn about all your favorite Abrahamic religions through your favorite format. Watching a podcast with pundits who have never actually read the text at 2 times speed. And what's even better is MVU's offering a total of 42% off the first 50 million subscribers to their service. Yeah! That's actually really good. I got this sponsorship. Listen, I worked very hard for this. So be sure to scan the QR code here on screen so you can get your first year subscription with MVU. And a huge thank you to MVU for helping sponsor this video and support me and my channel. Back to the video! Huge fans of H.P. Lovecraft, notable writer and terrible cat namer, the CCRU would publish the CCRU Writings, 1997 to 2003. Reading this might make you question if you're accidentally reading non-fiction at first, since it starts as articles from real people and references real events in history. But about halfway through, you'll realize that Miskatonic Virtual University, MVU, that certain authors reference, is a wink to a fictional university from the H.P. Lovecraft universe, and not a real university. At least, not yet. I won't cover the CCRU writings in depth since a friend of the channel, Lisa from Hijinks, can describe much better in her video. Link to that here. Either way, the CCRU would refer to this style of writing as hyperfiction, basically when a fictional text takes itself as reality. Not to be confused with hyperstition, which is an engineering of manifestation or practical fiction that is ultimately unworthy of belief. To the CCRU, nothing is true because everything is under production. This reflects the famous nihilist and anti-humanist stance the CCRU is known for, which is to say that nothing has value, including human life! Nick Lynn would refer to humans as
worthy of study, but only as much as the experience of sea slugs.
You may even be curious about the cryptic symbols and systems like the numogram or the demon logos that you see plastered everywhere on the archival CCRU website. See, Nick Lynn would also like to know how to use the numogram, because even to this day, he's gone on record saying that he doesn't know how to use it, since it was made for sci-fi writings. So, the reason it seems so confusing is probably because it was made to be just that. Confusing. It does make for a pretty sick logo though. Dr. Sadie Plant, a cyberpunkette, an expert in both feminist theory and cybernetics, would end up departing later due to her growing distaste with the CCRU's direction underland. And like an angry ex, he would devolve it into something even darker, anti-egalitarian and anti-humanitarian. During this time, Nick and the CCRU would start to co-opt Accelerationism, a term originally coined by Benjamin Noyes in his book Persistence of the Negative. The original concept references Marx and Engels' idea of capitalism having played a revolutionary role in feudalism, and suggesting capitalism might need to be accelerated towards its internal contradictions and transformed into what would be called communism. Nick Land took this a step further and suggested in his 1994 essay, Meltdown, that we should accelerate capitalism so hard that it should explode into some secret third thing. By this point, his writing goes from PhD grad to dude screaming in the street you try not to make eye contact with. To quote him,
Meltdown has a place for you as a schizophrenic, HIV-positive, Chinese Latino addicted LA hooker with implanted mirror shades and a bad attitude, blitzed on a poly mix of synthetic serotonin and female analogs. You have just iced 3 touring cops with a highly cinematic 9mm automatic.
And with this acceleration of capitalism and evolution with no restrictions, including any value for human life, Land would birth fundamentals of accelerationism! At least the modern one. But not before doing more amphetamines and still crashing out so hard he'd vanish! And then respawn years later in Shanghai. It would be during this time that Nick Land would come back online to publish his riveting works, such as Hyper-Racism on the alternative right blogspot. A notable, if not the most prolific of his works during this time period would be The Dark Enlightenment from 2012, in which he would say things like, democracy is bad, actually, aligning with a Mencius Moldbug, aka Curtis Yarvin, on things such as, the Enlightenment was stupid and also dumb. To give a brief summation, he argues for neo-social Darwinism, anti-Abrahamic theism, anti-white nationalism, anti-racial nationalism, anti-progressivism, anti-conservatism, anti-democracy, anti-equality, and pro-hierarchy to crush all at the bottom, unless of course it's him. Surprisingly, this work is better researched and weirdly less inflammatory than more currently popular Nicks of a Fuentes variety. The Dark Enlightenment, though, still hits a bit of psychology, sociology, and biology, which of course Nick Land admits he never actually formally studied. But it seems like any proficiency in comp sci wasn't necessary for him to be taken seriously in AI either. Yet, what might be most misunderstood about Nick Land is that, above all, he is a man of the arts, and as such, he enjoys nothing more than the stage. Ian Hamilton Grant, one of Land's students, would recount, "There was always a tendency in all of us to bait the liberal, and Nick was the best at it." And this brings us back to late 2025, where we can see a much older Nick Land at the age of 63, talking about his most recent appearance on Tucker Carlson's podcast. Land says,
Conrad had built a story that I almost was envious about. Like it was, I thought somehow more compelling, more cinematic, actually, than the version that, as far as I'm concerned, could be realistically attributed to me. And I thought, Tucker's response of deep concern was also extremely entertaining. Maybe I should say, I don't want to be too frivolous about it. It was very well done, very well done. And the moment where he is captured now 1 million times holding up an image of the numogram is world historic, honestly. I feel now like that if I went to my grave tomorrow, my role as a kind of entertainer would have been completely vindicated.
Say what you will about the man, but Dr. Nicholas Land knows how to do one thing extremely well: polarize. And perhaps that is a skill reflective of us as a society. Or perhaps it's a skill of those who should be known for exactly what they are: entertainers.